Welcome to yet another episode of the Leadership Lab with Dr. VK. Today, I just want to address some of the questions that have been coming to us on the podcast about leadership and other issues. I think it's good that we should be interacting with each other as we go on in this journey. So the first question that I want to address is, if leadership is not about titles, then what exactly makes someone a leader? Remember, we had an episode in which we were discussing issues pertaining to the fact that the title or the position is not leadership, because leadership is about influence. Leadership is about decision making. Leadership is about taking people to a place where you have been and then allowing them to buy into that agenda and then going there with you. That's what leadership is all about. People will follow your example. People will follow what you do and how you do it. Sometimes you come into an office and then everyone is dressed the same way. Look at the leader. You find that the leader is also dresses that way. Leadership begins exactly where you are. This is why on this program, we're not just talking about leadership as it pertains to big positions, government, and all these big institutions. We're talking about leadership, even from the homes, leadership wherever a person is, workplace, church, in our community. Why? Because these are the places that now create or produce the leaders that we now call leaders in our society. True leadership is measured by impact and not about how big your salary is. True leadership is not about rank or the position. True leadership is about the change or the transformation that happens in the people that you're leading, and ultimately the transformation that also happens to you as a leader. The second question is, can someone be promoted into leadership and still not be ready to lead? Remember, when we were talking about preparation deficit, we said that opportunities will come, sometimes unexpectedly so, in the most unlikely places. Sometimes someone may die, God forbid, but that's life. Someone may die or someone may move out, and then a position has been created, and then someone has to fill in that position, and then you can be promoted to that particular position. However, sometimes, at least most times, promotion will come because of your performance. You know, what you have been doing in the past. You cannot just be promoted just having worked maybe a week or so. You have to prove yourself that you are worthy of that position, of that promotion. So that is why preparation is very key. In institutions that have a very clear organogram, for example, where you know that I am here, but based on my experience and my ambition and my skills, if I do well, I will get there. There are 4 steps to get there, but I think I can get there. That's why you have to be ready all the time, because you never know when that opportunity is going to come. So you need to get yourself ready. However, when I say that, I recognize that it can conflict with ambition. So sometimes ambition can conflict with the status quo. What do I mean? And there should be one leader at a time. You need to keep your ambition in check usually. So you know that I want to get there. One day I want to be a program manager. One day I want to be a director. But today that position is being occupied by somebody else. There will be different elements that you have to change, that you have to observe. So each position that you're going to find yourself in will require a certain degree of maturity or emotional maturity that you have to exercise. Capacity sometimes grows with responsibility. So once you know that at least now people are now reporting to me, they've been an additional responsibilities that have been attached to or added to my portfolio, it means your capacity is also growing. So even your mental capacity has to grow as well. Otherwise, the position is going to expose your weaknesses, because positions have the tendency to do that. They will expose you, and usually that exposure is in the negative. If you're not prepared, the responsibility is going to outgrow you. It will outrank you. So you are here, and then the responsibilities that you've been given are here. So it means that mathematics there is not balancing. So you need to ensure that as your responsibilities are growing, you are also growing in other capacities as well. The third question is, what is the biggest mistake people make when they first receive authority or leadership position? The mistake that other people get when they first receive authority or leadership position, sometimes they try as much as possible to prove themselves. prove themselves that, I deserve this position, instead of now learning, or instead of subjecting themselves to personal development. And now they also, because their complacency levels now grow, and they now no longer believe that they need advice. They no longer believe that they need anyone to mentor them. They cannot learn anything from anyone. They cannot be accountable to anyone. And that is a very, very big mistake. As you grow, you will need a lot of grounding, something that centers you. You need a lot of advice. Are you going to take advice that comes from people, everything that people tell you? No, you're going to sieve that advice, but you will need that advice, because remember, you have never been there. But there are some people that have been there, or they understand what it means to be on the position that you are presently occupying. So you still need to have advice. You still need to have people that you can bounce your ideas on. And then you still need other people that are going to mentor you. And then the other question that came was, how can a young person prepare for leadership before opportunities come? We had an entire episode on preparation before opportunities come. And I want to repeat that you have to invest in learning. There's a lot of information that is out there. So you need to invest in learning, reading around your area of interest, personal development. There's no one, this I always say, there's no one that is thinking about how to fix you, how to build you up, you know. So even in the training plans that institutions have, they will be generic. They will not necessarily tackle other elements that you may be struggling with, but that you need on your leadership journey. So, which means, therefore, you have the responsibility, the priority responsibility to develop you, because you know what you're good at, you know what you're not good at, you know what you must learn, you know. So you need to subject yourself under personal development, so that you grow, so that you learn, so that you can be prepared for when anything comes your way. And then you need to volunteer responsibility. That's how you can also prepare yourself. Volunteer responsibility. So you know that you are a junior, but there's an opportunity for you, to go and provide service in another department, for example. Go and volunteer. People will notice those things over time, even when especially when there's no reward. And by the way, you cannot say that, hey, boss, remember last week I helped you do this, I helped you do that. Maybe you can think about giving me an allowance. No, just do it willingly. So people will remember when there's something that comes up. They will say, oh, that person has been with us. Past 3 weeks she was helping us, or he was helping us achieve this thing. So maybe we can give him this position. Maybe we can subject them to further training so that they can work, because otherwise, after all, they were already willing to assist. And then you need to exercise or build discipline, integrity, and then consistency of delivery. We spoke about consistency long before anyone is watching. What you do in private will manifest in the public. It will show. If you're not prepared, even in an exam, you study in your own room, you study in the library, whatever it is, but you study in private. What you do in private now is going to manifest in public. After you have written that exam, you get an 85%, a 90%, that A plus, that A, that straight A. Once you get that, it will show that this person, when they're in private, when they're alone, they were preparing. So you need to build that discipline around your learning culture. Build that discipline around your consistency of delivery. Those things no one teaches you at school. Those things no one teaches you at school. Those are the things that you develop, you build them up yourself as a person. Now, why? Because you want to get there. You have a goal. In this life, when you have developed your goals for yourself as a person, the goal really doesn't change. No matter the circumstances that you're going to face on the way, the goal never changes. What changes is sometimes it's the way we get there. So if you are in one place, for example, so in Malawi, you are in the capital, and then you're going to Blantyre. Normally, you can fly to Blantyre, or you can go by bus, or you can drive to Blantyre. So if you're driving to Blantyre and then you reach one area and then you have a tire puncture, you're not going to return to Lilongwe because you have a tire puncture. You're just going to fix it. And then you still continue with the journey. If you have to take a detour because you want to have water, or you have to use the bathroom and all of that, you still do that. You don't return because you want to use a bathroom. You find a bathroom, use it, and then you continue on your way. The goal never changes. So you need to build the discipline of not quitting, not giving up, being consistent with how you do your job, and then striving to always be excellent at what you do, perfecting your work, perfecting your game, because that's how you get better. I remember when I was in college, I used to love what we used to call them discussions. These would happen 2 days before a particular paper. So I would study very, very hard and then I would go to discussions. At first, when I was in first year, I would hate them because I would think, oh, why must other people benefit from what I've studied? And then I realized it was actually the other way around. When I go to the discussions, I'm giving myself an opportunity to test out what I've learned or what I think I've learned. Because there you don't use any papers, you're not using any books, you accentuate what you already have studied, what you already know, what you think you know. And then you'll be shocked by yourself. You think you're not ready until you go there. Someone brings up a question and you find yourself, you're explaining, you are very comfortable even explaining that. And you go into an exam room knowing that I am operating from a mark of 70% here. Everything else that I'm going to get after that is just going to be an add-on. But that's what I mean. You're building yourself up. You're preparing. You have consistency of delivery. That's what you need to do before that opportunity comes knocking on your door. And I want you to remember one thing as well. By the way, in life, opportunities usually do not come with a name tag. They will not say, "Oh, Vera, this is your opportunity," or it's not going to be in a box with your name on it and delivered by DHL to your house or to your doorstep. Sometimes you go out there and find the opportunities yourself. Sometimes when your mind is cued to winning, you are going to be to see opportunities in places that other people won't see them. So many young people come to me and say, the opportunities are not there. Sometimes they may not look exactly the way you have design them in your mind, but they are opportunities nevertheless. So you have to be ready for when an opportunity comes. So you build on you before that opportunity comes knocking. The fifth question was, what do you do when people expect you to have all the answers, but you honestly don't? As a leader, you may not know everything. You can be a financially skilled person. You're running this institution. You don't know anything about IT. You require other people to provide you that expertise or that support, that IT support. So you may not have all the answers, but you'll still be expected to make decisions, even in those things in which you are not an authority. You know, so a good leader admits when they don't know. So it is okay not to know. That's why you have a team. A good leader knows how to charge his foot soldiers. He knows how to delegate. So I cannot do this. If I go to that meeting, as I know I'm the CEO, but if I go to that meeting, I'm going to fail dismally. Send the director, send the manager, send somebody else that are good. You should be able to be comfortable with other people taking the stage and shining, because eventually, ultimately, you are the one shining. The reports that are going to come will say, "Oh, you raised somebody that was very confident. They came here, they nailed their presentation." When you know that you had absolutely nothing to do with it, but you built them up. I'm telling you, when you do that as a leader, you are creating a safe haven for yourself. Those are the people that are going to be standing up for you, especially when the going gets tough. They know this boss is a very good boss. He sends us, he gives us opportunity for us to shine, for us to exercise what we know. So the first thing that you need to do, especially when you don't have all the answers, admit that you don't have the answers. Tell them, I don't know. And it is okay not to know, which is why when you are recruiting the people that must work for you, you need to surround yourself with those people that will have other skills that you don't have, but are the skills that you require for the success of the institution, for the delivery of for the realization of your objectives. You need specific skills. Whatever those skills are, you get them. So you may not be an embodiment of everything that you require as an institution, every skill. You won't do that. You're not a super human being. So you can only know so much. You can only deliver so much. So on those things that you don't know, recruit the people that are very good and then use them. What will it benefit you if you have all these skills within you, within that institution, and then you don't charge them, you don't use them? So you need to surround yourself with sufficiently knowledgeable people that will cover you in areas that you're not competent in. So leadership is really not about knowing everything. Leadership is about whatever it is that you know, how are you able to use it to influence the people that you're leading? Leadership is about making critical decisions when the time requires you to do so with the available information. So I've always told you about me not being very good at mathematics, for example, or finance, but I can look at a finance report and I'll be able to tell you this doesn't make sense because this is not reconciling with our bank balances and all of that. You need to know enough for you to make decisions. You are able to know that even though you're not a finance person, but you're able to know that I think this company, we are slackening here. We are not making profits here. Or what is happening? I think we are losing, we are bleeding in this department a lot. You are able to make those kind of decisions and then flip the coin so that other things can be moving as well. And then you can get back on the saddle. But you don't need to know everything, but you can use whatever information that you have to advance your cause as a leader. Number 6, and this is of great interest to me, is loneliness an unavoidable part of leadership, or can leaders avoid it? The truth of the matter is that leadership, as they say, is not a popularity contest. Everybody doesn't have to agree with you. You don't have to agree with all of them, but the higher you go, the lonely it becomes. People avoid you, or they don't want to interact with you. I mean, you're the boss. Sometimes that is good, and it has its merits and demerits, because you are interacting. When we spend a lot of time at work, about 8-9 hours, with other people even more, so you become like family. You are like friends. But then when time has come for you to make decisions, you have to make decisions that are going to affect those friends of yours. That is when leadership becomes unpopular. But you have to take a decision anyway. Remember, I said you are going to be forgiven for making a wrong decision, but you will never be forgiven as a leader for not making a decision at all. So you have to be ready to make very, very tough decisions that will make you unpopular, that will make you be lonely. And everyone will not have to be on board or understand what you're doing, but you still have to take that decision anyway. And then the higher you go, the fewer people will be attached to you and or relate to you or even understand you. Because, personally, they will think, because she's now obnoxious, because she's now a director, or she doesn't want to hang out with us now anymore. She doesn't want to go out for lunch with us anymore, So there will be things that you're going to do inherently, not because you plan to do it, but because the job requires you to do so. I watch movies sometimes, and then you see that in other institutions, they even have different kitchens for different kinds of executives. Junior executives, they'll have their own kitchen. And then higher executives, they'll have their own kitchen. So, when you have been promoted, you are above your peers now. You have to now, interact with the big boys and the big girls. And then your friends with whom you were interacting before that thought that you were family, now they'll look at you and be like, okay, now she's hanging out with the big boys, with the big girls. Now she can no longer hang out with us. That will isolate you, but you not plan to do that. But, it comes with the job, it comes with the position. So you have to be ready for those kind of things. So at the same time, you need to understand that as a leader, you need people that you can trust. So there will be things that you are going to be entrusted with, some information that you're going to be entrusted with because you are a leader, that you cannot discuss with your counterparts that are on the lower part of the institution. So that becomes tough. There will be some things that you are aching to tell someone, but you can't tell them because the job does not require you to do so, because, and then, for example, as a minister, you take an oath of confidentiality. You take that oath with a Bible in your hands. You cannot break that oath no matter how angry you are. You cannot break that oath. All right? So that also isolates you, because sometimes you can be hanging out with friends and then something just slips. The government has said, if you are a director, if you are a CEO, something just slips. Somebody's going to be fired. Somebody's going through a disciplinary hearing and all of that. Things that have been exposed to you because you are holding a position. So those things, they isolate you. They make you become lonely. However, you still need now, that is where you need a support system that still supports you even when you have been isolated from the things that were considered normal to you. So you still need to have that support system that will make sure that you have a balanced mental health that supports you mentally when you need it.